Hello, hello, everyone. Welcome back to Cults to Consciousness. I'm Shelise Ansola, and today I am joined by the amazing Kendra Lee Bryan. Thank you for being here.
Hi, always good to be back.
Yeah, so we are back for another episode of Culty News. You have been on the Ruby Frankie case and Jodi Hildebrandt case since it all broke. And so we, of course, had to bring you back on because the sentencing happened today. We wanted to report on it. You have all these amazing notes, and we are going to play some clips from court today so you guys can see with your own eyes the remorse or lack thereof from the both of them. So before we even dive into it, if you haven't already, make sure to go and subscribe to Kendra's channel. The link is in the description. Your @ is Kendra Lee Bryan.
Kendra Lee Bryan. Yep, my
That's
full
what
government name.
Awesome. So, yeah, thanks guys for joining us live here today. I'm sorry if I have the sniffles, getting over a cold, and I'm out of breath because I'm about to go into labor at any time. So, all right, today talking about Jodi Hildebrandt, Ruby Frankie. So, Kendra, if you would just give us a little bit of an update as far as who they are, why we're here, why we're following this case, as if no one has ever heard of them before.
All right, so yes, we have been following this case since the end of August last year when Ruby and Jodi were both arrested and charged with 6 counts each of aggravated CA. And they've been in jail since because what had happened was one of Ruby's children escaped out of the house and ran to a neighbor's house for help. And after that happened, what we learned was these children had been kept hostage in Jodi Hildebrandt's house with the knowledge of Ruby Frankie and had just been enduring horrific conditions. The children were found with duct tape around their ankles and very malnourished and emaciated. And so a lot has transpired since then. Both of these women pled guilty to 4 out of the 6 counts. And so today, we're doing the update today because they were finally sentenced. They both took a plea deal, so they did not go to trial. And so, yeah, so today was just finally getting, I guess, quote unquote, closure on the sentencing piece of it anyway. And so that brings us up to speed.
Yeah, thank you for that. And also want to point out that Ruby was actually a YouTuber and she had a mommy blog basically for years and a couple million subscribers. So it was a big deal when it comes out that she's been abusing her kids. However, most people saw the signs. They were trying to warn the kids through the comments, and it seemed like that's around the time when she shut down the channel. She claims it was for their own good or whatever, but I think she even mentioned, well, they were getting ideas from commenters and like, yeah, that you're abusive and you need to stop. And it was around that time that she partnered up with Jodi, who was a licensed counselor therapist in Utah, and things just went downhill really, really fast, where her abusive tendencies turned into horrible malpractice. And not malpractice. What am I trying to say? Gosh, guys, my brain. I swear my pregnancy brain has taken over. The malnutrition, it turned into malnutrition. It turned into awful abuse. And we'll probably be mentioning a few of the things that she did put her kids through. So that's just a little bit of a trigger warning. We are going to talk about some graphic things just to give you guys an idea of the scope of what she was putting her kids through. So yes, YouTuber, they were both Mormon, which is also why it kind of bleeds into our channel, because a lot of the things that they were doing were to rid the kids of demons, I say in huge air quotes. They were saying that they were sinning and needed to repent. These are children. At one point, she even claimed that her son was addicted to corn with a P. I don't want to get flagged already by the YouTube algorithm. And so all of us are going, okay, well, how did he get his hands on it? Because she claimed that it happened when he was like 3 or something crazy. So all of these things are kind of tied into these religious belief systems, which Jodi ended up taking way too far. And you'll see through the statements, first of all, how vastly different the two statements are between Jodi and Ruby. And you'll see in Ruby's statement how she is like so thick with the religion, but also I was indoctrinated. And I'm like, it's
You still are.
really it's just really interesting. And also, I'm just going to offer, when it's necessary and when it lends itself, the perspective of a Mormon when she starts bringing in the Mormon lingo, which just had me rolling and like, oh my gosh, I roll. And it's so frustrating seeing how her church leaders are going about this, which I'm also not surprised. But anyway, so let's get into it. I think we'll start with just playing Jodi's because it's so short and be over in like 5 seconds. And I hope the audio comes through okay. Let me go to it here. All right.
I sincerely love these children. I desire for them to heal physically and emotionally. One of the reasons I did not go to trial is that I did not want them to emotionally relive the experience which would have been detrimental to them. My hope and prayer is that they will heal and move forward to have beautiful lives. I am willing to submit to what the state feels would be an appropriate amount of time served to make retribution as an outcome.
And in answer to your question, Your Honor.
Okay, so that was quick. First of all, did anyone hear an apology there? Because I didn't.
And it really grinds my gears that she is trying to make herself out to like she's this wonderful person. One of the reasons I did not go to trial is like she's doing everyone like she was really doing the kids a favor, a solid on this one. Like why she still has this freaking messiah complex, like she's the one falling on the sword, even though she's the one who was brandishing the sword.
Yeah, and how she's like, I love these children, and her voice is all shaky, and she's like, I know it would be a detriment to them to relive this. And we're thinking, you're the one who decided that it was a good punishment. You're the one who was pushing them into a cactus or making them jump on a cactus. Like, maybe this is a good time to add the context to the severity of what she was doing. So I'm going to list a few things. Tell me if I forget anything. I know that they were making them work outside in the southern Utah heat, which can get up to 130 degrees sometimes without shoes and without socks. So they had burns on the bottoms of their feet, withholding food and water and beds at some point, making them stand out on a porch in the heat for hours or even days, making them do wall sits for hours. So physical manual labor, carrying boxes up and down stairs. What am I missing, Kendra?
They also were bound by handcuffs, especially the 12-year-old boy. I know that was specifically mentioned. He was bound his hands and his feet with handcuffs and sometimes with rope, sometimes with both.
Duct tape.
So where basically his body would kind of be like suspended off the ground because he would be bound like his ankles together and then his hands behind him together. So I think the judge or the prosecuting attorney today even described the conditions as a concentration camp like environment in the home. That's how bad it was. It was like a prisoner of war situation.
And so those are some of the things. And I wanted to keep playing some of this video because first of all, I forgot, and this part had me just screaming in my phone. So the person who is representing the state in prosecuting, he mentions a lot of these things, all of these abuses. And then Jodi's attorney comes on and says, well, there are two sides to the story. I'm sorry, two sides of the story? Like what could your side possibly be that makes this any better? That they deserved it? No, that's not an option. Okay, let's look at the physical evidence here. What is the other side that you think is going to absolve your client? It it was very tone deaf, in my
Mhm.
opinion. And even the judge, I don't know if it's next or if we already skipped that part, but I think the judge was like, yeah, I don't agree with two sides of the story.
Yeah.
I was like, I'm so glad that he said that because it was ridiculous.
Yes,
So
absolutely.
let me play some of this again. Not again, but keep playing it. Because I feel like there was things that the judge said that I wanted us to talk about.
I knew that whatever she might say to the author of the pre-sentence report would probably sound hollow and self-serving, and perhaps it does today. But I
Yes,
know that
it
my
does.
client, in the statement that she makes to the court today, that statement is absolutely sincere.
Oh, well, if you say it's sincere, then we believe
Must-
you.
Does Hildebrandt recognize that it's her behavior that caused the harm to the children that she's referred to in her statement?
Your Honor, she recognizes that she was, along with Miss Franke,
How do I put this?
Always
that
shifting
she
blame.
made
Always.
decisions with respect to the discipline of those children that were wrong, that caused harm to those children. She fully recognizes that and accepts responsibility for that.
All right, anything else?
No, Your Honor. No, Your Honor.
Okay. Ms. Hildebrandt, this circumstance is tragic. It's largely, of course, of your making. By any measure, your conduct in this case was disastrous for these children. Adults are supposed to protect children. Adults with specialized training in particular are supposed to protect children.
Exactly.
You didn't do that in this case. In this case, you terrorized children, and the results
Preach.
have been tragic. It's what happened to these children, and your philosophy in dealing with them, frankly, seems detached from reality or any objective standard of decency
Yes.
or even common sense. And the court finds that it is appropriate that you serve a prison sentence. The court finds under the statute, Utah Code 76-3-401, that given the gravity and circumstances of the offenses, the number of victims, and the history and character and needs of the defendant, that consecutive sentences are appropriate. The court imposes 4 1 to 15-year sentences to be again served consecutively for each of the 4 counts of aggravated child abuse. The last thing I do need to tell you is that you only have 30 days to file.
So, okay, I love the way that he handled that. It was like mic drop. This
Yep.
guy is so grounded in reality, which obviously it seems like everyone else isn't as far as she's concerned. She's just like, oh, well, I loved him. Okay, that's not going to work. And the fact that it was so short and her lawyer had to be like, I know it might sound a little empty. Like, why didn't you tell your client to write something? At least try and come up with something better than that. And the fact that he was just like, your job was to protect kids and you terrorized them. I just thought he handled it so well.
Yeah, especially being a licensed counselor. She knows better as a human being and as a mother herself, but also as a professional. She knows exactly what she's doing and how that psychologically impacts those kids as well as physically. And
Yeah.
she just abused all power in every single way. I loved how he handled that too. And I know that he's also a professed Mormon as well. The judge himself is. And so I know a lot of us were worried about if that would impact how the case was handled from a legal
Yeah.
standpoint. And thankfully it doesn't seem like it did.
Yeah.
So
I didn't mean to put that up right away. Sorry if that cut you off.
no, you're good.
I was just getting it set up so we were ready to go. No, I agree. I think, yeah. I mean, obviously Mormons can be level-headed and they're very smart and intelligent. A lot of them are. So I don't want to sound too biased to be like,
Sure.
yeah, I thought they were just gonna throw it out. But there can definitely be a bias when it comes to these cases. And so I'm glad that he was very clearly, no, this was wrong. This was abuse. And you're the one that's living in this delusion. So,
Right.
Okay, so should we move on to Ruby's? Is there anything else you wanted to add?
About Jodi's, no, I don't think so. We've seen enough
Okay.
from her
I've seen enough from her.
for a
All right.
lifetime.
So I just skipped to the part, and we're not going to listen to the whole thing because honestly, it's so long and the audio is clippy and weird. I think she was like this in her microphone, and it just didn't do anyone
Yeah.
any favors. But I just wanted everyone to see her demeanor, and then we'll kind of go over it. You had typed it out, and we can go over the transcript.
Sounds good.
Judge Walt.
You don't have to bend down.
Okay, thank you. I would like to make a statement without any intent to change my stipulated sentence. For the past 4 years, I've chosen to follow counsel and guidance that has led me into a dark delusion. My distorted version of reality went largely unchecked as I would isolate from anyone who challenged me. I was led to believe that this world was an evil place, filled with cops who control, hospitals that injure, government agencies that brainwash, church leaders who lie and lust, husbands who refuse to protect, and children who need abused.
Okay, husbands that refuse to protect when you're the one abusing your kids, that's laughable. Also, it just sounds like, I mean, she's trying to put all of the blame on Jodi and be like, she brainwashed me and led me down these conspiracy theories, which might be true. I mean, we talk about brainwashing all the time on this channel. But to the extent of I was convinced that I needed to abuse my children, maybe. I mean, we have seen that too in religion, so I guess I can't count that out. I guess it just feels like a huge cop out because she went from like semi-harsh punishments and things that we didn't agree with on our YouTube channel to literally binding them with duct tape and handcuffs and not giving them food. And it was so extreme that you have to wonder, is this something that was dormant in her all along and she just finally got permission to explore these things? Or was she really, truly brainwashed by Jodi to the extent of thinking it was completely okay and called for? I don't know.
Yeah,
what do you think?
I think Ruby's a better performer. I think she's better at performing in front of the judge and in front of the court and her family because she's so used to it, having the YouTube channel. And she even, you know, there's been snippets we've seen where she's admitted that she acts a certain way in front of the camera. And then once the cameras are off, she turns into a different person. She's all but said that in previous videos when she had her channel. So I don't doubt for a second that, you know, the majority of this was performative. And I think Jodi's just worse at that part of it. But I don't think, I don't necessarily think that this, just because she's showing emotion here, I don't feel that she necessarily is taking full responsibility for the gravity of the situation and the impact on these kids. But
yeah, it seemed a little ingenuine because she does disingenuous, I think is the right word. Guys, my brain. Because at the end she starts thanking everybody who snapped her out of it and like, thank you to the detectives who pulled me out. And I know we'll get to that point in a minute, but it just feels like it's all one big cop out and she's just making excuses and like, oh no, I'm so sorry, poor me. I mean, at least she's saying she's sorry. It's better than Jodi, who I think you had written in your notes that even with some recorded phone calls where she knew she was being monitored, she was still saying that she was the victim and that the children were the
can you believe
how
her?
delusional can you be?
She's disgusting. I can't say the words that I want to say on here about Jodi and Ruby, but yeah, she still is just not taking responsibility, which is why the judge and the prosecuting attorney rather said that she's still a threat to society and to people if she gets out because of her influence, her education, and, you know, her lack of accepting like she did this. And I think that's why the judge specifically brought up, does Jodi recognize this is, you know, of her doing? Essentially, this is her fault. Did she take responsibility? Is because in those recorded phone calls, which I hope we get to hear eventually, she apparently was still saying that these two kids who are like, what, 9, 10, and 12 are the ones responsible for all of this. They're at fault here, not her.
Yeah.
Be
It's
so
disgusting.
freaking for real.
Oh, okay, let's keep watching.
Let's do it.
My choice to believe and behave this paranoia culminated into criminal activity for which I stand before you today ready to take accountability. Jodi Hildebrandt was never my business partner, nor was I ever employed by
Wait,
her.
did she just
I have
say
never received
she was never her business partner?
Yeah. Yeah.
I thought that was well established.
It supposedly was, but it's very odd to me. This part, I was like, how does this fit into any part of this statement? I feel like that's more directed at the public, like still somehow trying to maintain her image.
Yeah. Because then she goes on to say, well, I did hire her.
Yeah.
Okay.
wages
Okay.
from her or connections. Jodi was employed as my son's counselor in 2019, and in 2020, I paid her to be my mentor. It is important to me to demonstrate my remorse and regret without blame. I take full accountability for my choices, and it is my preference that I serve a prison sentence. Thank you to the officers in Santa Clara and the Ivan City Police, Nick Hellman, Brian Palufo, Cy Pitkevit, Mike Pandoyo.
Okay, this just drones on forever. I'm just going to read you some of the cliff notes here. She's thanking everybody who came. This is her quote. You are the angels who came and saved my children. Yes, from you. I want to thank the detective. She plugged me out of a situation I didn't know how to get out of. And the moment she handcuffed me was the moment I gained my freedom. Interesting.
Wow, she's so proud of that line too. Like she just wrote poetry. She's like, oh, that's bars right there.
Nailed it. Yeah. Okay, so then she goes on, thank you to the medical staff of the hospital. Jonathan is dying over here. Why are you laughing so hard?
Well, I said that's bars, but then I was
I
thinking
didn't even catch it.
The only bars she's dropping are the ones she's standing behind. Am I right? Boom.
I can't. We have to laugh so we don't cry. Okay. Children's hospital, the children, whatever, you kept my children safe, and it just feels so empty and gross when the perpetrator is thanking the people who saved them from her. It's just like, I don't know. It just feels like you're really trying to get brownie points. Okay, and then this is the part where I was like, okay, thank you. You even highlighted it. Thank you to my bishop, Tom Hawks, and my stake president, Jim Nelson, for reminding me of the Lord's love for the lost. And it just, oh, wow. With all of the cases that we've recently covered in Mormonism, mainstream Mormonism, not the fundamentalist Mormons, not the polygamous sects, but the mainstream Mormon church, which I grew up in, where these bishops and these stake presidents are protecting the perpetrators and victim blaming and shaming those who were abused. Just to hear a sentence like that from a perpetrator, that her leaders, her highest leaders, the bishop who is over her ward and the guy who's over that, which is a stake president, for those who aren't familiar, saying, well, thanks for reminding me of the Lord's love for the lost. Like, it's okay. We'll forgive you. How about a scripture of we need to protect the children, or something about how you need to take accountability? No, it's immediately forgiveness. And that's something I saw over and over and over again, even in my own life. Someone would do something to harm me or one of my family members, and it's, here's the Miracle of Forgiveness book, which is a god-awful book that no one should read, about how we just need to forgive and forget. We need to sweep it under the rug and just, do what Jesus would do. And I'm thinking, no, that's not how it works. There's zero accountability when you just tell someone, but it's okay because God loves you. Sure, maybe he does. That's great. But you need to take accountability for what you did and not just skip over that whole part.
Right. And I also feel like she's trying to cushion her stay in jail and in prison by thanking all, like, it's seriously, I think some of the comments have said, like, it's like an Oscar acceptance speech. And that's what it is. She's just like thanking so many people throughout, because guess who? She's about to spend a lot of time with these people, and no pun intended, but the connections that they have in the prison where she's about to be for years. So of
Yeah.
course she's like kissing, she's just like brown nosing her way all the way through this whole speech.
Yeah, that's such a good point. Um, let's see. I was the one who was deceived, not you. Oh, she was saying to the stake president and the bishop, so much pain and suffering would have been avoided had I followed and heeded your counsel. So that also raises red flags to me. Where was she confessing to the bishops that she had been abusing her kids and they did nothing about it?
Right, right.
What are we talking about
Mm,
here? What is the counsel that you didn't take from your leaders? So, I mean, I just
yeah,
had to point that out.
yeah.
Um, okay, so then she continues on the legal clerks and discovery team and the justice, like,
Why?
yeah, it's just she just picked everybody and said their names and said thank you. Her
Spent a lot of
attorney,
time. I mean, honestly
yeah,
though, you have 6 kids. If you had dedicated one paragraph to each child instead of to these freaking police officers and county clerks, like you're you're about to go to prison. You're about to go to prison. And you're not
yeah.
gonna see your 6 kids. I'm sure they don't want anything to do with you, hopefully. I mean, I hope they're not being
Oh, I
forced to,
mean, don't
why would you
worry.
not
They do have a
oh, just
little
wanna
paragraph in
yeah,
amidst the
at the
10
very
others.
end.
At the yeah, exactly.
Let me take a breath.
Yeah. She even says basically to all of her friends and family, and she lists them all out. You gave me the warning signs and I pushed you away. Or you saw the warning signs long before I did, and you did what you could. You wanted to help, but I pushed you away. Okay. I mean, there's a little accountability there, at least throwing them a bone. I think it's because she realized how much scrutiny everyone was under as soon as this all came out because everyone turns to the friends and family and goes,
Mhm.
"Did you know? Why didn't you
Right.
do anything?" And she probably feels worse that they're going through something versus what she actually did. She's probably like, "Oh, no, people don't like me anymore, and this is a bummer," and so
Mhm.
kind of throwing them a bone in this statement.
And
Uh,
her sisters went very public. They both made a couple of her sisters made, public because 'cause they're also, YouTube vloggers. They made
right.
several videos over the past 6 months about the situation, which have
Mhm.
popped off, and so I know they were catching heat, and there's been a lot of heat on the sisters for how they really didn't have anything to say about the kids. It was more about the negative attention they were receiving as the sisters to
Oh,
Ruby, and so I think this is her way of kissing their behinds.
yeah. Yeah, and then, of course, everyone's going, "Well, what about the husband?" We know that they were separated around the time that this happened. However, everyone was like, "Yeah, but he lived with her for how many years? Of course, he would have seen signs." And so he gets a paragraph. "Kevin, my husband of more than 23 years," she says as she starts to cry, "you are the love of my life. I'm so sorry to leave you to finish what we both started together. The ending of our marriage is a tragedy, and you are wrapped around my heart in a knot I'll never be able to undo." I find it really interesting that she kinda gives him a pass in a way. Like, she never throws him under the bus, but I think it's because she knows he's not on her side. But all of
Because
us
he's
are kind
filed
of
for
going, "Hmm."
divorce. He's already filed for divorce because he's hoping to get custody of the kids.
Yeah.
And then I know, his attorney, who she also thanks in this speech, by the way, she thanks, Kevin's attorney, but,
Uh,
uh yeah, Kevin's attorney came out and said that, what's his name? Kevin Franke, her estranged husband, wants her to get the maximum prison time. Like, he wants her to stay in prison as long as possible for
yeah,
the what did he say? Quote, "horrific and inhumane CA."
yeah.
So and he was
Yeah,
there in
and
court today.
oh, he was.
Yes, Kevin was there as well as, Sherry and
The
Chad, which
oldest
are their
daughter?
2 oldest, the oldest
Yeah.
son and the oldest daughter.
Oh, we have some questions you wanna put on the screen? Were
Oh,
the sisters there?
I haven't seen anything about them being there. I know Jodi Hildebrandt was anticipated to be there, which she wasn't, but I haven't seen and I was, like, looking at the back of the heads in the courtroom video, which they didn't show the whole courtroom, but I didn't see them there.
Okay. And how long is the sentence? Yeah, so they got basically the same thing, right?
Yep.
One to
Si
14 years for 4 counts, or was it 1 to 15 years?
1 to 15 years for each
One,
count, and they have 4 counts each.
yeah,
So a
but they
minimum
have to
of
be
yeah,
consecutive.
consecutive. So a minimum of 4 up to 60,
60.
but we saw in one article that it said 30 was the maximum on consecutive sentences, so need to clarify that, but minimum of
Yeah.
4.
Yeah, it says from the Business Insider reports, the length of each prison sentence will ultimately be decided by the Utah Board of Pardons and Parole. However, Ruby will not serve more than 30 years due to a Utah law regarding consecutive sentences. So we haven't fact checked that yet, but we wanted to include that from Business Insider reports. Okay, so back to this cringy statement. So now she talks to her kids. To my babies, my 6 little chicks, you are part of me. I was the mama duck who was consistently waddling you to safety. Why is she like you said, it's this poetic thing. Like it's not
Is this
necessary
a
to do that.
nursery rhyme? Like, what are we doing here?
It's unnecessary. I can see now over the past 4 years I was in deep undercurrent that led us to danger. I would have never led you to darkness knowingly.
You
Okay.
did though. Yeah,
Okay.
you did.
I was so disoriented that I believed dark was light and right was wrong. I would do anything in this world for you. My willingness to sacrifice all for you was masterfully manipulated into something very ugly. So she's saying that she was
Again,
manipulated.
not taking responsibility, but she'll say, I want to go to prison. I am taking responsibility, but then in the next breath just
It's
say
not her fault.
it's not her fault.
Yeah. I took from you all that was soft and safe and good. I took from you your mother. How terrifying this must have been for you. I hope she's referring to the abuse part and not the actual leaving the mom part because I'm sure that was a huge relief to be out of her care.
Yeah.
And then she says, I will never stop crying for hurting your tender souls. You are so precious to me. I'm sorry. Okay, I'm sorry. My choice to live in fear of the world has created a great vulnerability and a blind spot for me where I've broken hearts and I've caused people to suffer and I've betrayed sacred trust. Watching my community respond to my charges with justice and mercy and grace and love is all the more evidence to me of how wrong I've been. This world is full of really good people.
It feels so misplaced. And she said, I think we skimmed over the part where she addresses her family, but she was saying like her parents welcomed her back. Her parents and her sisters welcomed her back like the prodigal son with open arms. And it's all about just like this overly positive outlook of like, oh, the world is full of so many good people and you saved my children and you welcomed me back with unending grace and forgiveness.
She's
Like,
using the Bible. She used,
oh,
like, Bible verses or something, which is I mean, that's kind of what got her here in the first place.
so,
This is the next part. Finally, I'm sorry for twisting God's words and distorting his doctrines. But she's still using the Bible to kind of justify.
mm-hmm,
Anyways,
mm-hmm.
my greatest desire is to stand in his court, capital H, someday, spotless and confident. Judge Walton, I know that standing before you today is a necessary step towards that end. Thank you to you and your staff for facilitating my opportunity to take accountability and to answer for my charges. Geez, it's still going. Okay, this is the last bit, I swear. I am
She
humbled
won't
and
shut up.
willing. I'm humbled and willing to serve a prison sentence as long as it takes to continue unraveling all this information I've believed and bought and swallowed and acted out, and for my family to heal and for the community to heal. And I understand this is going to take time. I'm committed to continuing my learning until all of my toxic layers are shed, and I'm ready to re-enter as a contributing member of our beautiful society. Girl, long
Shut
ways to go.
up.
Long ways to go before that happens.
Oh,
Just wow.
it was just like she just had diarrhea of the mouth. I'm sorry, I had to
Mhm.
say it, but
But not even in the right places. Like you said, it was an Oscar
no.
speech to everyone except the people who she really hurt. I mean, you saw that little bit for her kids, but it felt so manipulative of the
Oh, yeah.
public. Like it just seemed like she wanted to make herself look better in the public eye because she knows
1000%.
everything that's been going around about her, and she can't stand to have a negative image. So, I mean, they were
I
both
did a
train wrecks.
little I did a little word count on her speech. Don't
You
ask me why I
did?
did. I did. It was
And?
over 1,000 words. Her statement was
Whoa.
1,000 words, and then I was like, I don't know why I did this. I was, like, analyzing the top words used in her speech, and "thank you" was, like, the top, and "I'm sorry" wasn't even on the top 10 of the most used words in there.
Right.
It's just thanking all of these people, and she says, "I'm sorry," like, 2 times, I think? 3 maybe?
Yeah.
Total to everybody?
Yeah. And these statements that you also wrote out, I thought were prevalent to mention. The crimes were motivated by their religious faith, said Washington County Attorney Eric Clark in a statement. Clark said, "This case has been one of the worst child abuse cases their office has seen." So I think that was important to mention that, again, this was all motivated by some sort of belief system. And then the next one is this is a case about religious extremism. The defendants appear to have fully believed that the abuse they inflicted was necessary to teach their children how to properly repent for imagined sins and to cast the evil spirits out of their bodies. Hildebrandt regularly stated that God communicated directly with her and gave her directions. So she's believing she's some sort of prophetess receiving revelation on how to control these children because of their sins. So,
Cult leader.
yeah. Yes, exactly. So I didn't make it to the end of the video of Ruby's. Was there something that the judge said that you think is worth watching and highlighting?
Oh, I'm trying to think. I was just thinking about how the prosecuting attorney, when he was reading, so he read the same statement, like kind of rehashing
Right.
some of the things that these horrible women had done to these kids over time. And Ruby also admitted that this had been going on for the past 4 years, but they're only actually being charged for the crimes that were committed in like the span of 4 months of last year, which
Right.
I was like, uh-huh, I see you. But, the prosecuting attorney in that statement, he gave the same statement for Jodi and Ruby, but when he was reading Ruby's to the court, he even got a little choked up in his statement just reading some of the things that had been done to the kids, and he pointed out not just the physical impact this had on them, but the emotional impact,
Yeah.
and how all of the kids thought that to some degree they deserved the things
Right.
that were being done to them. That's how brainwashed and that's how distorted, since that's, Connection's favorite word, how distorted the situation was. Like they legitimately thought they had demons or there was something wrong with them where they deserved this sort of punishment being done. It's
Mhm.
insane.
Yeah. Oh, Jonathan says we have super chats. I'm getting lost in the story here. Okay, Allie, thank you so much. So glad to see you two ladies link up. Following Cults to Consciousness since Amanda Ray. Oh, we love Amanda, an OG Kendra follower. That's awesome.
Hey,
Well, thank you
Allie.
so
Oh,
much.
I miss doing the IG lives too. I was thinking about doing some recently, but I'm going to switch over and do YouTube lives. So if you guys aren't over
Yes.
there, you can go over there. Shameless
Yeah.
plug.
I didn't even mention your Instagram. You have a huge following on Instagram. That's like your main jam. You're transitioning to YouTube, which is why we want people to go subscribe. But yes, over on Instagram, and it's at the Kendra B.
Yes, ma'am. The Kendra
Yes.
B on Insta.
Links in the description.
Thank you.
And Alyssa, thank you so much for your super chat. Sorry. I go to put it on the screen and then Jonathan does it at the same time and it goes away. Okay. It's specific manipulation made in a speech to make her look less horrific. Yeah, I agree. It's very manipulative. Everything that she was saying was very contrived and on purpose. Thank you so much, Alyssa. We appreciate you. Okay, so was there any other part of the video that we should continue on watching after her?
Someone said you should play the prosecuting attorney's statement afterward. He summed it up nicely.
Okay.
I don't know if I have that part in the notes, so it may be worth watching if you can find it, but I don't know how difficult it might be to
let's
find
try.
that.
Sorry, guys. I should have been more prepared. This came out today, and I was like, Kendra, we got to go live today. This just dropped, and Kendra put all this stuff together. Thankfully, she's the real MVP, but I'm the one that's lagging behind. So
I'm going to have to make a video about their oldest son, Chad, made a TikTok with his girlfriend today. I think it's hilarious because that generation, it's my son's generation too. They're so unserious about the most serious things, which I think it's just a way to process trauma and heavy stuff. But he made a funny TikTok with his girlfriend. If you guys, you can go find it. But I'll probably make a short video about it because I just think it's hilarious. But he's basically poking fun at the fact that his mom ended up in jail and that he's not sad about it.
Wow. Well, that says a lot. Okay, I'm going to play this and let me see if we can find it or if she's still droning on.
You're a part of me.
Nope, she's still droning.
I would do anything in this world for you.
Okay. Still going.
And I have betrayed.
Step into Wix Studio, the platform for agencies and enterprises, and turn website layouts.
Walton, I know as long as it takes, are shed, and I am ready to re-enter as a contributing member of our beautiful society. Thank you, Judge Walton.
Okay. Let's see what he has to say.
Your statement, Ms. Franke. Anything else, Mr. Winward?
No, Your Honor.
Anything else prior to the court imposing sentence?
I don't know if it's after this one or after Jodi's.
The sentence will be that Ms. Franke serve 4 counts, 4 1 to 15-year sentences based on her convictions for 4 counts of aggravated child abuse. Again, they will be served consecutively pursuant to the parties' agreement and the applicable statute. Under the applicable statute, the court finds that that consecutive sentences are appropriate. Ms. Franke, the last thing I do need to tell you is that you have only 30 days to file or to perfect an appeal of any errors of the court by filing a written notice of appeal with the clerk of the court. If you don't do that within 30 days, you will lose your right to appeal. You also have the right to the assistance of an attorney on appeal and to have one appointed if you cannot afford to hire your own. Restitution, as agreed by the parties, will remain open for a period of 8 months. Any of the parties can bring that matter back before the court within that period of time. Anything else?
I guess it's not on this one. But I did notice the inflection on his voice, and I just know this from trauma and having to always be hyper aware of inflection in people's tones. But the way that he says almost word for word that to Jodi, but he's so much kinder the way that he says it to Ruby. But to Jodi, I could feel the difference. And he also says something else to Jodi too, basically bringing the attention on the horrific things that she did and the responsibility that she carries for it. And then I think the prosecuting attorney makes a statement about her needing to serve more time than Ruby because, you know, of her still being a threat to society and whatnot. So I don't know where that is in the video though.
Yeah, that might have been where we stopped after he kind of laid into her and gave the sentence. So, I mean, that's basically it, right? Did we miss anything that we wanted to cover or add?
Did we mention about the Utah Board of Pardons and Parole getting to decide at some point, you know, once they have served so much time, then they ultimately decide if they serve up to the 30 to 60 years or if it's less time than that. And I think a lot of their decision is based on how remorseful and supposedly like repentant they are and what they've done to undo that brainwashing, or at least Ruby's brainwashing or whatever. So again, I think her performance today, we can just call it a performance instead of a sentencing, if you guys like. Her performance today, I think was part of that. She's smart and she knows that the parole board will be looking to that, and she knows the language to use. So I think that's part of it.
I wish that it were more minimum.
Oh.
Wish it were, yeah. The 4 years is definitely not enough, is what I'm trying to say. It should minimum be 10, 15, 20.
Yeah.
If
like
we're
until the
it.
children, I would have really liked to have seen them stay in there until the children are all until the youngest one is 18. At
That's a
least
really
like
great point.
at bare minimum. So that part's
Yeah.
disheartening. I think someone asked where the minor children are because there's still 4 kids that are minors. 2 were in the
Yeah.
house when they were arrested, but there's 4 total. I know initially we knew Sherry, the oldest daughter, received custody of the 2 teenage girls, but then the case was like closed off to the public since then. So to the best of my knowledge and what I've seen bits and pieces is 2 of them are still in state custody, which is honestly, the best place for them is assuming those are good households where they're receiving a lot of therapy. I know that part's happening. And then I think the other 2 are still with Sherry.
Yeah.
To my knowledge. But again, that part is closed. The kids piece of it, since they're minors, the judge sealed off to the public. So we don't really know. We can't be inside the courtroom for those hearings.
Yeah. Ashley says the same thing. So they can do as little as 4 years? Yes. Unfortunately. At least they didn't allow them to do it. What's the other one? Not consecutively? Concurrently? Guys, I'm trying so hard today. It's real.
You're doing so good.
I'm struggling today. Yeah, so at least they're consecutively. So otherwise it would be 1 year potentially that they would do for 4 different counts. Okay, so I think we have another super chat. Thanks, Ingrid. Thank you for bringing so many things to light in such an insightful and thoughtful way. You're welcome. I hope we're doing an okay job. I mean, Kendra's killing it as always.
You're killing it. I'm just here I'm just along for the ride.
Thanks, girl. And thank you, Ingrid, again. That means a lot that you guys are willing to donate and chip in a little bit. If you haven't subscribed to Kendra's channel, you should go do that now. And the link is in the description. And go to her Instagram too, the Kendra B. And what else? Do we have anything else that we want to say? Any other comments you want me to bring up?
Well, you're almost at 10,000 on Instagram. So if you guys are on YouTube, but not on Instagram, go like their Instagram page as well and get them to 10,000.
Yeah, we need to be more active on Instagram. We do post stuff to the stories all the time, but we're really bad at doing in-feed posts. So we need to be more like you, Kendra, and get on it because you're killing it over there.
You're better than me. You're my North Star, baby.
Oh, geez. We help each other out, so we can go with that. All right, guys. Well, thank you so much for joining us. Some people are asking about Oscar. He is on my lap. He's been glued to me. He was always clingy, but ever since I got pregnant, definitely just wants to be on top of my belly. So thank you guys for joining us. If you want to support the podcast, liking, sharing, especially after the video ends and it's the replay crew time, leaving comments helps it get to more people aside from those who are watching it live. And yeah, we have merch and stuff, all the things. It's in the description. cultsofconsciousness.com. Kendra just put out a video all about cults. Yeah. So go check it out. It's awesome. And we fully support everything she's doing over there. And what else? I think that's
I just want someone to look at me the way that Oscar looks at you. Goals.
He is pretty amazing. Oh, he's a sweet guy. He's a sweet guy. All right, guys. Well, thanks for joining us. Have an amazing night. Thank you, Kendra. You're the real MVP. And we'll see you again next time. Follow your eyes, excitement, be well.